a shot of tequila. I hate this.
I did. I feel great.
I'm Yuri. Don't even think about barking.
In this video, we're going to talk about spatial flow and how to create a wonderful area for your outdoor space.
We're going to discuss how important it is to consider your existing materials, like your deck or flooring and railing.
We're also going to talk about landscaping and flowers.
And finally, we're going to talk about accessories and how we bring the whole outdoor patio space together. Let's go. So when you're approaching styling or prepping for spring, the most important thing to consider for your outdoor lounge or entertainment area is how are you going to use the space?
Do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you want a fire pit? Do you want an outdoor movie? Like, how do you want to use that space and interact with people? And do you want to host a lot, or do you want it to just be like you and your spouse?
So the thing that's going to dictate how many of those items you can cross off your list is how much space you're working with. We really like to look at laying out the space. Do I have an eating area? Do I have a lounge area? Or do I only get to pick one? And that really dictates what decisions you make. Because let's say you might have just one area that you're trying to accomplish a lot of things. For me, I would do a smaller table that I could achieve having a meal at, and I would get a really comfortable lounge chair. So Wendy, what's some of your favorite things about creating your outdoor lounge area?
I mean, I like having somewhere comfortable that people can sit. I also like having different options for seating. Like some people might like to sit up higher on a bench, kind of like we talked about with couches. Like, do you want it to be more formal or more casual? I like having the option for either.
Yeah.
So I have some chairs that are where you can lay back a little bit more, and then an Adirondack where you can sit, or if you're really feeling casual, you could lay down on the bench because it has a cushion.
What's cool about bench seating, especially if it's deep enough and it has a cushion, is it's a great pile-up area. So if you have a smaller space and you don't have, if you have a smaller space and you only have 4 chairs, a bench kind of allows for overflow seating, which is really nice.
One more thing to consider, we talk about spatial flow all the time inside the home. It's the same fundamentals outside the home. How you think about the layout and the functional use of it. It's just with the outdoor space, I tend to go a little bit more casual and fun with it.
Yes. So one of the first things to consider when you're setting up your outdoor lounge, it's just like your living room. You need to make sure scale is intact. So you first start with how much space you have, your width and your depth, or whatever if it's a square. And you can identify right away, the depth and width of your chairs and the size of your coffee table. The biggest mistake people make is they get too big of furniture for the space. So a common mistake specifically would be to get too large of a coffee table. This coffee table is about 30 to 36 inches round, and you want to be able to have at least 2 feet to get in between all your furniture so you can comfortably flow throughout the space. It also allows you enough space to sit down, put your feet up, and then access hors d'oeuvres and allegedly a future staged and accessorized coffee table. But scale is everything. One trick that we do inside all the time in living rooms is we tape out the space. You can do the same thing outside. Sometimes tape won't stick to slate or decking that might have some dust or dirt on it. So you can put out wood pieces that would represent sizes and see how the flow is before you invest. I think one of my favorite pieces of furniture for an outdoor area in any climate is a composite, recyclable, weatherproof furniture. You've heard of them before, Lull, Polywood, Design Within Reach. Many of these companies now sell furniture that can sit out in the snow, rain, and sun year-round. It is so durable, it's recycled material, and it can last through any weather.
You can pressure wash it, which is awesome.
It's fabulous. The old Adirondack chairs that used to be made of wood that are great, but down where the water tends to pool at the leg or where they're painted, they rot out. Yep. So wood Adirondack chairs really only last anywhere from 2 to 5 years.
The next step in the process is figuring out what existing materials you have to work with, like your deck flooring, like your railing. Look at what you have before you start buying furniture.
First, address what you're handed. So if you have a lot of grass or gravel, you want to add warmth or depth. If you're working with a deck or another type of slate on the ground, that will impact what furniture you select. The railing, obviously, is it all wood? Is it painted? Is it white? Or is it modern, black and metal? All these things that you're first handed, which take up the mass, all these things that you're handed that you're working with dictate what choices you'll make in furniture moving forward.
One tip that we have for you before you go shopping for your outdoor furniture is to figure out a comparable to the materials that are existing. So if you have a black railing, maybe grab a black paint chip. If you have wood, if you can try to find something like an image online that's similar to this,
That represents it, yeah.
Yeah, print those off and bring those with you when you go to the store shopping, or even if you're online shopping, just have a place that you could reference what you're working with.
So with wood steps and a wood deck, we're handed this gorgeous deck, and now the best way to warm up wood is with greenery.
So here we're really thinking about plants like we would bookshelves. Like, what is the color palette? Do we have low and high plants to look at? Do we have some different textures? Another thing that we do to keep the eye movement going is whatever we create in this specific planter, we replicate it here and we replicate it here. So you can see the plant, the red plant is in the same spot in each planter, whereas the black spiky thing is on the right-hand corner in all of them. And then we have the creeping Jenny falling off the side, and you can just see how it creates a really nice eye movement.
A real cheat sheet or a real tip is to pick the plants that are gonna work with the sunlight in your space and just repeat them. You can repeat them in the planters, or you can repeat them in the same spaces, because really you've selected this and just put it on repeat. It looks great.
But think about your environment, think about what you like ultimately, and that can influence what flowers or plants you pick for your own space.
I'm not a huge green thumb, but I love plants. And plants are hard. You have to do your homework. So either you study it and you get involved, or what I do is I take a picture of the space. I know whether it's a shade or a full sun, or when it gets sun, and I say, help me. To the nursery, what can I put in the space that's actually gonna live? Because I've made mistakes many years over of buying the wrong plants for the wrong light. So just like indoor, you have to think about outdoor. Wendy, why did you mention traditional versus modern? Because modern to me is like repeating and then doing rows, but how are smaller plants more traditional?
It's a good question. I guess for my brain and just my own experience working with the treehouse specifically, because we don't do plants for our clients, to be clear.
You mean landscaping?
We don't do landscape, no. I have found for more modern spaces, I don't like pansies, and I don't like some of the more traditional flowers that don't fit the style of this space.
I think what I do is I repeat what my mom did. So whatever my mom planted, I plant. It's hosta petunia with a waxy leaf.
If it tells a story and it's something that is meaningful to you and you look at it, you're gonna feel happier in your space.
Watch out for my petunias. So a fun little secret I have is always planting something that's super smelly, like a daphne, a jasmine, or my favorite, a gardenia, right by the bedroom door and entry to the house. This guy blooms and the wind blows and it blows right in. Planter, smelly plants near entryways. Landscaping is no joke. There are a lot of materials involved. Hardscapes like concrete, that's expensive. You have to consider your leveling and how spaces transfer and to each other so you don't have tripping hazards, not to mention plant selection and including what light and shade that your spaces get. There's lots of variables involved. Research bringing on board for a consult or to add to your team a landscape architect.
So one thing we love to do is to create a moment when you're first arriving that's really exciting for guests to see, and just when you come home and you want to relax, something really enjoyable. So every spring, we really enjoy doing a succulent garden, just making sure it's all cleaned up. Any dead plants, we'll add new ones, and just make sure it's looking fresh and exciting when you pull up to the curb. Come on with me, I'll show you a little bit more. You can see we add some fresh soil in the spring just to make sure everything's looking really nice. Here we have 2 large rocks, and so we love to plant some succulents kind of tucked in around the rocks to make them look really pretty, and it just creates that eye movement that goes down towards the front door. During COVID, it was a thing that people left rocks all over the neighborhood. Lots of kids would paint on them. We think things like that are really fun to incorporate in your design. It adds personality, good memories. So here we have a bunch of rocks that were created during COVID. For your front entry, if I have one tip for you, it's just making sure you clean it up. So we have tons of leaves that drop in Portland, Oregon. And the one thing I do when we're hosting people or just getting ready for spring and summer is just to make sure we clean up the front entry.
So another thing we like to consider for outdoor is obviously like what materials or fabrics your furniture is covered in. A lot of times when you buy furniture from big box stores, it comes with a natural, a solid, white, tan, gray, or navy blue or black, whatever. But there will come a time that you invest in that fabric, you let it weather, you let it do its thing, and then you get to recover. So if you make a smart investment in the base or the body of the chair, down the road you'll be able to recover it. What are some of your favorite fabrics to recover your chair?
I love using Sunbrella.
Yeah.
For outdoor, it's so easy to clean. You literally just stick it in the washing machine and it comes out like new.
Sunbrella furniture you can purchase on the bolt, just like you can for interior furniture.
This is a Sunbrella pillow.
Find your upholster, measure your pillows. He can make special made custom pillows for you, and you can recover chairs. Even if I wanted to make a custom seat or back for these chairs, take the measurements, ask for Sunbrella, and your upholsterer can make these for you.
So with accessorizing your outdoor area, think about planters. I like to think about them in threes, one that's tall, one that's short, and one that's somewhere in between.
I love how this one has speckles and you have the black stand that kind of caters to that, and that's got a little bit of a blue color, does it not?
Yeah, it's like a blue-gray color. When accessorizing, think about something fun or unexpected, like these mushrooms from a local nursery, and then you can always have a watering can that looks nice as part of your accessorizing as well.
Something people always ask me about is what planters should I use in my backyard? So in the old days, the planters used to all be really heavy and concrete and could crack and break with swelling and contracting of weather, and especially in freezing. Now companies like CB2 and West Elm and all the big box stores make these composite, very light planter boxes that irrigate. They've got holes at the bottom. Hi, Yuri. What do you fill the bottom of these boxes with?
Well, funny you should ask. So this one is actually just dirt, but in our galvanized planters, we have milk jugs.
Yes,
to make it lighter weight. In the larger ones, we have milk jugs that are about 60% or 75% of the containers, and then we pour the dirt in from there.
Yeah. A little tip that we can give you today that's wonderful is make sure that you build in steps. If you have an area that is a platform that needs to get from higher to lower, extend your steps. Extend the tread, extend the length. So this is a great gathering place, again, for overflow seating. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned a thing or two about how to prep for your outdoor space.
Don't forget to like,
subscribe,
comment,
share,
and share.
We hope you enjoyed this video and you are really pumped to set up your outdoor fireplace.
A shot of tequila.